Appreciate y'all being here. Let me make sure everyone has gotten the link. Now, this has been opened up to not only our guys that are inside the community, but also some of the gentlemen that and some of the women that I've worked with over the years. Now, this isn't about just me, guys. I have my near and dear friend, Maryanne, here with me. Maryanne, welcome. I'm so happy to have
you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, super stoked. I mean, I don't want to fumble an intro for you. So if you want to give me like a bird's eye view, like who are you, what do you do, and kind of what lights you up in the work that you do?
Johnny's always like throwing these things at me last minute. Look at this document. Introduce yourself.
You've done it.
Hi, I'm Maryanne.
I've been a professional longer than I have, just so everyone knows.
Oh yeah, forever. I'm actually a coach and a psychotherapist. I've been a psychotherapist for about 30 years now. I also coach entrepreneurs. I do energy optimization coaching with entrepreneurs, which basically is very similar to what I do in my therapy practice. And what was the other question, Joe?
What lights you up in the work that you do? Like work with, you were just sharing with me a win with one of your clients.
Yeah, so I mean, there really are so many things that keeps somebody doing the same thing for decades. Really, to me, I believe we heal in relationships. Speaking about relationships, I heal also in my relationships with my clients. And when I can really have that heart connection with them and be with them without urges, and we might talk about this today, urges to fix, is really a beautiful thing. There, for a long time, was a big part of me that wanted to jump in and fix, and to really be able to lean back and really, I also do a lot of nervous system regulation work, and I've done a lot of my own. It's so important to embody what we talk about and teach. And to really be co-regulating with a client and feel that energy is just, it's just a really beautiful thing. And honestly, it's not always great, right? Like there are fractures in relationships, and one of the things that is important is how we repair them. And that's also a really beautiful thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing that. And man, how we repair them. If there was the perfect formula or the pill for that, I feel like I would have already patented that at this point. I'm excited. I'm excited. You know, I know you had mentioned like fixing and things of that nature. And we're going to dive into that for sure. But I'm curious, the guys that are currently here, that are on this call, the guys that are live, I appreciate y'all being here. And for those that are on here, if you don't have your camera on, it makes it a lot more fun for me. And for Maryanne, if you could turn your camera on, regardless of what you're doing, because it allows us to connect with you in this semi-personal way. I mean, I actually have the gentleman that I usually reference a story. Now, there's a client that I used to work with where he got on the call while he was on the operating table, and he turned that camera on. And man, I commend him. So if he turned the camera on when he was there on the operating table, there's very few individuals that have a reason for not. And also it lets me semi-connect with you guys and her as well. But before we dive in, on the topic of relationships and intimacy and really rekindling that connection or restoking the fire, what questions come to mind, or what problems or hurdles have the individuals on this call found yourselves in? Do me a favor, share in the chat, because we'll get to these questions, but I just want to hear kind of where's your head at? What hurdles have you ran into, or what are you currently navigating, or what are you desiring more of in a relationship? But realistically today, We're going to talk about sex. Talk about sex. You know, that word, for some reason, I feel like there's this polarity around it. Some people get like the heebie-jeebies around it, and others really lean into it. And then there's some that are somewhere in between. Now, in my experience, I have this thing called the libido killer for specifically for women that I've witnessed. And it's when men get very defensive. They're just defensive about everything. Have you experienced that at all on your end? Like with defensiveness and something leading to like a lack of like desire to connect, or just like being turned off from a partner? That's for you, Maryanne.
Oh, sorry. Have I?
Like, have you ran into that with clients? Like anything that they've done that led to either their partner feeling a lack of like desire towards them, or maybe something their partner did?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, defensiveness is one of the four horsemen. So there's this very well-known relationship researcher, Julian John Gottman. I like to give shout out to his wife too, because she's right in there with him. And they identify four. They say they can tell if a couple is going to get divorced with like 95% accuracy. Defensive by are these four things in their relationship, and one of them that aren't good, by the way. One of them is defensiveness. It will cut off communication in a relationship faster than, I'm trying to think of a funny analogy. I can't think of one, but yeah, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate you sharing that, because that's actually what I was going to parlay into. Because the four horsemen and John and Jill Gottman's four horsemen, some of the guys that are in the program are familiar with it, because I reference his work and some of Terry Real's work.
Oh, do you? See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. So a lot of the guys here have read, you know, a lot of Terry Real's books. We have that as a part of like our
career. He's awesome too. Yeah.
If they choose to dive into it. But
that's good stuff. Do it. Dive in.
Oh, yeah, they love it. But for my guys that are just joining, we're going to pause for a sec. For the guys that are just getting on here, if you could post any questions you have, or current hurdles that you're experiencing, or really what you're hoping to gain from being here, share that in the chat for me. Kind of continuing on criticism. Criticism is this huge dynamic that I've seen for me personally. Personally and professionally, I've witnessed when men are criticized, almost feels this like deep sense of emasculation. Like we feel emasculated when we're criticized or demonized or villainized. Now, context is key, and this is situational. Sometimes we do need to be a little demonized, so we might be fucking up. But there is a way to do that. Now, in terms of criticism, for my guys that are on the call, if you've ever experienced criticism in your relationship or defensiveness, do me a favor, put the number 1 in the chat. Just to see. And also to see if you guys are following along too. Man, I remember there's a client that comes to mind, and this guy just would not get out of the trauma triangle. He was either the persecutor, the savior, and he would just vacillate between those two most of the time. But that's what happens, is we get so caught up in that dogma, and really we kind of get to this place where we feel we're damned if we do, we're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't. And so I've seen guys just completely check out and just completely for lack of a better word, check out, but they will not file for divorce. They just check out of their relationship. And it's almost this sad form of settling. Now, on your end, Maryanne, when it comes to like the criticism part, what are some things that you've witnessed?
I mean, a lot of people would, when you feel attacked, right? You're going to become defensive. It's a natural dynamic that happens. And I think most people in general, most of us are very conflict avoidant. And so you don't really, everybody, I think on the call put a 1, you have felt that before, right? And you just like shut down. You just, I mean, there are some people though that people kind of either tend to go outward with usually kind of anger or inward and just sort of like it's almost like I give up. It's the same thing all the time. It's the same fucking conversation all the time. I don't want to have it anymore. I give up. I don't know how to fix it. So I'm just gonna go watch whatever on
Yeah,
TV.
I'm gonna go watch TV, play video games. Fuck this, I'm done. Storm out of the house with the keys.
Yeah.
Yeah. For my guys that are on the call, put the number 2 in the chat if you could relate to any of that. On the criticizing side and just feeling drained. Now, I know I've experienced that personally, and we actually do have a question for you, which you guys continue questions in there, and we will we'll get to them towards the tail end of this because we're going to get to everyone's questions. And realistically, the goal today is to get through the training. We'll do a little bit of Q&A, and then I'll give you something special at the end, and really how to ensure that you don't only just listen to this information. So I think we live in a world filled with information, and some people lack application. So at the very end, stay to the end, and I'll give you guys something tangible to apply what you've learned today. But you have to stay until the very end because you only get it if you're live. So when it comes, I'm just reading the chat. Yeah, we criticize back and then sit and self-reflect on we see it as like zero sum. We call these proverbial javelins, where when we're criticizing, like we get hurt. And men are really good at doing this. They're really good at hurting someone if they get hurt. It's like, if I'm hurt, I'm going to hurt you back and I'm going to hurt you more. It's like we combat pain with pain when really it's not a zero sum game at the end of the day. When we start to criticize, that creates the perfect dynamic for a partner to also close down, or the inverse of it. Now, guys, I just want to share an example of a complaint and an example of a criticism, because some of you guys may be thinking, well, man, what if I want to give my partner feedback, right? Has any guy on this call ever been in that place? You care about your partner so much. Put the number 3 in the chat if that's you, and kind of share some context. What was the scenario? A complaint can sound like, I was scared when you were running late and didn't call me. I thought we agreed that we would do that for each other. Now, we could also make that into a power statement. Now, criticizing could sound like, you never think about how your behavior is affecting other people. I don't believe that you're forgetful. You're just selfish. You never think of others and you never think of me.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's harsh.
If you were my client, I'd be like, don't say that.
We call those the accusatory statements. I'd just straight up turn to a guy and I'd be like, and how did that turn out for you?
Right.
How did that go? We're here now. And they're usually like taking the call from their car. And I'm like, got it. Guys, there's a difference between a complaint and a criticism. And you can also ask, hey, can I give you some feedback? Are you in a place to receive feedback? And if they say no, honor that. That doesn't mean double back and double down. All right, well, I'm gonna give it already. It's not. You get more bees with honey. Is this all making sense, guys? Just by the guys that I have cameras on. I know Tyson doesn't have his camera on, but I know he has a reason for that. Question for later. That's a good question. So guys, we're gonna parlay into contempt. Now, this is technically the second horseman. I know we already did defensiveness, but when it comes to contempt, when we communicate in this state, we're just straight up being an asshole. We're being mean. We treat others with disrespect. We start to mock them. This is when we're a little sarcastic. condescending.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah, passive aggressive, greater than now. I will be transparent. I had a nasty habit of this when I was in my younger years. And as I started to get older, I went to the far other side and I got like very, what I saw as calm, but others perceived as stoic. They felt like I was not having any emotion to what was actually happening. And I remember my daughter's mom brought this up to me. She said, "You're so calm, but I feel like I'm right next to you and you're so far away." I wasn't emotionally connecting in the moment. I wasn't reacting, but I also wasn't responding. And that was for her a form of contempt in the moment, because I wasn't like eye rolling, I wasn't scoffing. It was just more than neutrality. It was bland. So I share this because there's some guys on here that were on the far reactive side and may have swayed far to the other side. And those are usually the ones that are the people pleasers that then become the ones that are convicted in their beliefs. I see you guys. Now, guys, contempt can also go far beyond criticism. It can be like subtle attacks, things that I don't think anyone gets in a marriage or a relationship intending to hurt the partner. Would you agree, Maryanne? I've never personally.
Yes, of course. Yeah, no.
I've never had a guy get on and tell me like, I want to hurt her. I want to break her heart. And I'm sure no one gets in a relationship to do that either. But for some reason, this tit for tat, do you see that a lot in the clients you work with? They get caught up in these like tit for tat dogmas.
It just becomes like this very ingrained pattern in relationship. And it's really hard, you have to practice creating new neural networks, just like within ourselves. It's the same in relationship. But I don't know if this is scientifically true, but I do feel like the tit for tat thing, it's like a little dopamine hit. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I got her or I got him. And it feels good for a second. And then you feel like shit and you don't know how to fix it. And the fracture gets bigger.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. I would love to do some type of study with that. Dropping that anecdotally, if anyone wants to be a part of a sociology experiment, let me know.
Hook you up to some wires. And
yeah, right. I'm sure I could find someone to do it. Now, you mentioned the neural. Did you say neural pathway? What was the specific?
Yeah, neural networks.
Yeah, let's kind of open up dialogue there.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Now, in somewhat, what does that mean? And like kind of give me the cliff notes of that.
Okay, cliff notes, really simple. If you think the same thoughts, which most of us basically kind of like think the same things every day, your neural networks are like, let me give you an analogy. Like, picture a mountain covered with fluffy snow, and you're sledding down the mountain, and the sled represents a thought. And you're going down the mountain and you're creating like a divot in the mountain. And the next time you're at the top of the mountain, the path of least resistance is the divot that's already there. So the more you like have the same thought, you're going down the same neural network. So when this is one of the reasons why things are hard to change, because over 95% of what we do, what we think, is not conscious, because it's second nature. It's repetitive. We don't even have to like use any energy at all to go down the same divot in the mountain or whatever. I don't think divot's the right word, but path. Thank you. Path. So in neural network terms, like, things, I think Terry Real talks about this too, like what, fires together, wires together. So if we pay attention to a thought, like, say like a negative thought about yourself or about your partner, the path of least resistance is to keep repeating that thought over and over again. It takes energy to create new neural networks and practice and repetition. So that there are lots of different ways to create elasticity and create new neural networks, but that's basically what it means.
Okay. I appreciate you expanding on that. So you hear that, guys? You get caught up in your patterns. It's not your fault. I'm just kidding. It is your fault.
Well,
Like, oh, I get the pass. Nice. No, guy, and I share with them consistently, like, we're creatures of habit. Like, we get caught up in a pattern and sometimes unknowingly do the thing that we may not want to be doing.
yeah.
It reminds me of when I was in the fitness industry like a decade ago. That was where like the beginning of my career started. And I had this client and she had this like cycle of she'd go to the gym a lot and then she'd disappear for like 3 months. She'd go to the gym a lot in a month and disappear. And I remember we reconnected one time and I was like, Janet, you're doing so great. You've already got such a great routine of consistency. We're just consistent at the wrong thing. Now imagine if you were consistent at the right thing. And it was like that clicked for her. And she was like, yeah, I just need to like choose the right thing. And I said, yeah, you just keep choosing McDonald's and Burger King and not the gym at all. But really, she was biting off more than she could chew. And she couldn't understand that she was so used to this routine that that's what felt good. Realistically, as humans, neurologically, we're not wired to approach change in that way. Like we approach change and we get into fight or flight most of the time. So we prefer the pattern because it feels good. It sometimes will give us like a dopamine spike. I'm just reading the chat. Yeah, rut's hard to get out of when it encompasses the whole tire.
Yeah, I love that. I just saw that too. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you're in a rut, those are the times where you just got to chunk down the process. So many guys are looking like so far ahead in the distance of how far they have to go instead of chunking it down and seeing or asking themselves day by day, what do I need to do today? You know, one of the questions I ask guys frequently is, what does a win in the next week look like? Like just one win. Like just get one win under your belt and collect the wins and you'll create momentum. And as long as that's in the positive direction, you can start shifting out of this dynamic that you're in. But kind of getting back on gears, the final horseman, guys, is going to be stonewalling. Stonewalling. Now, for my guys that are live here, put the number 5 in the chat. If you have ever been a stonewaller, or if you've been the one experiencing the stonewalling, give a little bit of context. You guys can't just get by putting 5. It's not going to be that easy. In instances of stonewalling, I've recognized that those that have like words of affirmation as a high like love language, when they receive stonewalling, it almost feels like they're in their silo, completely on their own in their island. And it's interesting because it's almost like in those moments you would think or believe no words are better than negative words. But really in those instances, I've had a lot of men share with me that are words of affirmation oriented and ones that lean towards that. It sometimes will lead to them disconnecting in an unhealthy way, the stonewalling. And guys, stonewalling is far different than healthy space. That's not what we're saying. Stonewalling is a very unhealthy dynamic. Now, it's usually a response to contempt. Have you witnessed that on your end at all, Maryanne?
I mean, what I was just thinking about was a client of mine. He had a pattern of stonewalling. So what it would look like for him was if he picked up any kind of like his wife being anxious or like he felt like she was about to like criticize him, he would just leave. Like if he felt that and they were laying in bed together, he would just leave and go sleep on the couch. If he would just walk away. And to him, I think there are deeper levels of why we do this. But he just did not feel safe in those moments and he didn't know how to deal with it. And so that's one of the things that we're working on is how can he take care of himself in those moments? Because we also create this kind of relationship of codependency too. Like, oh, if I'm picking up something's wrong or bothering her, I need to react to it in some way. And part of what we're working on is he actually doesn't. Like he does it, they're her feelings, it's her emotional state. There's nothing going on with them at that moment. It's okay to just be with that, but you have to kind of like, he has to build his tolerance so he can be with that. He's not leaving necessarily out of feeling contempt. It's more like fear. Like he just doesn't know what to do. And then of course that creates a dynamic where she feels abandoned and she's confused and she's like, what the fuck? What are you doing? But it's so ingrained in their pattern. They've been married for I think 6 years at this point. And they hit a crisis in their marriage where, he had an emotional affair and so everything kind of blew up. So we're looking at all of these patterns that he is continuing to repeat, but is changing also. And it's sometimes it's easier just to leave. And I like how you said, Joey, like this is not giving space. It's checking out.
Yeah.
It's not like an intentional, okay, I'm just going to give this a minute to, it's not like I'll be back, let's revisit this tomorrow morning at breakfast or whatever. It's like you just leave.
Mm-hmm.
Or completely shut down, go into this like really shut down state.
Yeah, you just like close off.
Yeah.
I usually articulate this as individuals will go numb or they just get into the fuck it's. Fuck this, I'm done. They storm out. And sometimes I've had many men be honest where they've shared with me when they storm off, they actually are hoping that their partner chases after them. Because then when she does, she cares. But
which is the codependent pattern.
Yes, which
perfectly leads. You want to sit at the bar or you want to sit?
Oh, sorry, I got you. I want to sit right now because I think he was asking his kids if they want to sit.
Yeah.
On the topic of codependency, Lancet asked, can you elaborate on the codependent aspect? And I believe it was when we were speaking about was it contempt? Or when we were talking about stonewalling and like the codependent aspect. I'm guessing it was in reference of like the chasing aspect and like wanting your partner to lean in when you close off. Can you clarify that for me, Lance? Just give me a little bit of context in the chat for me, because I'm totally open to elaborating. Yeah, if she chases and it's real love, she loves. Yeah. Or it's like, my biggest trigger is when someone hangs up on the phone. Like it takes me 0 to 100 when I was younger. Like if we're chatting and I'm like, yeah, and then they're like, yeah, click. I'm like, oh, what the? It irritates the hell out of me.
Well, it is irritating.
It is irritating to be hung up on.
Yes.
You hope you're met with compassion, and it's like in those moments, I remember becoming that person at one point and doing that. And then having them call back, and I was like, oh, it felt good. And then, of course, I rationalized, and I was like, wait, this is bad. This is good, but bad. But if they chase, it's real love. When really, we're just creating this toxic pattern that we need to stop, ideally.
I think that's a really good and honest, like, core belief that is rooted in old experiences. Like, what does love mean? What is attachment? What is healthy attachment? How does a person show love? Yeah. But as far as codependency goes, did he clarify?
He said she clarified that the walking away.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
oh, got it. Okay.
So you answered the question.
So yeah, codependency is a whole topic that I work a lot on with my clients, but simply what I could say, the codependent part is him picking up, maybe assuming basically that she's anxious, say, and reacting to that. So, or in some way, like trying to get away from it because it makes him uncomfortable. But there is the codependent. I know it seems like, well, that's not really codependent, but codependency is basically when your actions, your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors are driven by somebody else's actions, thoughts, decisions, and behaviors. So he's always like attuned to her reading us, which they're all assumptions because he's not checking in. They're all assumptions. And then he's reacting to it. Often this particular client, he is very codependent in his relationship. He tries to fix everything. He takes responsibility for, all of her emotional states. And that's basically codependency, is when you kind of don't really recognize where you end and the other person starts.
Yes. So great that you just said that, because I was just going to say, I'm sure many of these guys could literally quote it right now. I feel like they're about to type it. Most individuals in marriages that I've witnessed, when they get caught up in the dogma or like the depths when they're experiencing challenges, it's because they have no sense of individuality, of where the marriage or relationship begins and where their identity ends as well.
That's huge.
Yeah. They just have no idea, like, who they are outside of the pain, outside of the marriage, and who they are outside of this thing. And I've seen men become a shell of the individual they once were and just have no idea where to start. So I appreciate you sharing that.
You're welcome.
Super in alignment. So it's about external validation, I think Lance said, but go and continue your thought.
I was just going to say, it can get really confusing to know kind of these all exist on continuums, right? Like there's no like, this is codependency, this is healthy functioning. Like, I mean, things add up over time, but it can be really challenging because when you think about it, most of us, unfortunately, didn't have great role models for what a healthy, functioning, honest, true love relationship looks like. If you did, put a 1 in the chat because I want to like see what you look like. Because you're lucky.
Yeah.
So
how to healthy. Dynamic, put it in the chat.
So these are all like, it's good for you, Josh. That's awesome. It's hard to know kind of the difference because humans are interdependent. We are pack animals. We do exist in community and we need other people. We're not like Castaway, that movie where he was by himself all the time and he became really close friends with Wilson because like he needed some other connection because he was alone on an island. It can be very confusing to understand the difference between healthy interdependence, because most of us, except Josh, haven't had good role models for that. We don't learn it in school. Where are we going to learn it? Like, just like, where do we learn healthy communication? So one clue though, for codependency is when you get really anxious, when you think your partner or somebody you're dating or whoever is feeling a certain way. Like it's usually like more of a negative way. Or when you think they're feeling happy and you're really happy that they're like your emotional state is totally dependent on what you think their emotional state is.
Yep. How you feel is directly tied to where they are at in their experience. And vice versa.
Yes. And that's a problem for
Yeah.
a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. And, some individuals out there don't see it as a problem. They see it as this is the way it's meant to be. And Josh, it didn't help me picking later in life, though.
Picking like a partner, you mean? A healthy partner?
Josh, you can come on and share. You want to share, Josh? Feel free.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was very fortunate. My parents are still together. They had an awesome marriage and everything. But it didn't exactly help me pick later in life. I think I assumed in my youth that it didn't. I wasn't gonna have to put in as much work. Things would just relationships were just fell into place and everything was easy. So yeah, that's also why I'm like going through the process of soon to be ex-wife now. So it kind of didn't help me with my picker, I guess you could say.
I have a quick question for you. Did you ever see your parents disagree with each other? And did you see them, how they made up with each other, how they repaired? Did you witness that? Wow, you are a unicorn. Because the reason why I ask you that is a lot of clients will say to me, my parents were amazing. They never fought. They never had conflict. Because one of the questions I ask new clients is, how did you see your parents resolve conflict? Because there are conflicts in every relationship. You can't hate that. And they didn't have conflict. What are you talking about? That's not healthy. Exception is relationships should not have conflict. If it's a healthy relationship, doesn't have any conflict. So that's why I asked. But that's amazing that your parents, showed you how they repaired when there was a fracture. That's I'm assuming in a loving, calm, maybe manner.
Yeah. He said, well, to be fair, it was after they had their own time to work through it.
Okay. Yeah, we all have stuff, right?
Yeah. It just goes to show you could be in a seemingly optimal environment of nurturing in nature and still land in a place where you may learn some harder lessons. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. For everyone that's on here, you will get a PDF of this training. I'm going to give you the PDF of the training. It's going to be emailed to the individuals that are live on this call. The individuals that watch this on recording will get a different document. Those that show up live always get more because they gave us their time. Now, I want to parlay over to some of these questions, if that's cool with you, Maryanne.
Yeah, of course.
That are live on the call. Now, drop your best email in the chat just to make sure that we have your best email. I'm also going to, in the email, share how to get in touch with Maryanne. Our plan is to do some more fun things together, and we're going to drop that anecdotally and future paste that. But if you'd like the PDF of this training with the antidotes, meaning what you do if you are experiencing any of those, whether it's defensiveness, contempt, criticism, or stonewalling, I'm going to give you the antidote. And these are actual framings, what to do, how to do it for each of these scenarios. For the guys that are live on this call, if you're watching this on recording, you'll get something as well. Now, I appreciate those that are dropping their emails in the chat just to make sure we've got all the right emails. Awesome, awesome. Guys, any questions that you have based off today's training? It has to stay in the frame of today's training. Don't pull something from the ether. Okay, guys? Because I know how some of you work. Some of you are like, I've been holding on to this for months. I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to stop at the first one. Mhm. Of course, as I'm scrolling up, I can't find. Okay. I'm divorced and dating. I've avoided sex because it felt like she wanted a relationship, and I felt like I still need my space. Do you have suggestions on dealing with that situation? Now, I personally want to ask a follow-up question. Now, just to get a little bit more context, because I think this question is for both of us. Now, you've avoided sex because you felt like she wanted a relationship and you feel like you still need your space. Are you saying that you don't want a relationship, but you want sex? I'm asking for clarification. If you could clarify that for me, Lance, and I'm going to copy and paste this question so it's at the bottom as well.
Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
There we go. Hey, thanks for answering the question and having me on. I sure appreciate both of you being here today.
Of course.
Yeah. I guess to clarify, it was each time it's happened to me like 3 times now. Heat of the moment, things were getting passionate, but it very much felt like she was looking for a relationship, and I felt that if we were together, that's what she was going to expect afterwards. And I just basically had to stop things where they were because I'm not really looking for a relationship, and I didn't want to lead on somebody who I just had a nice time with and cared about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But where does that leave you? Like, what do you actually desire with where things are? Like, what do you actually want? You, not her. The me button.
Yeah, the me, not the she, yes. I guess I hadn't really thought clearly about what I specifically wanted. It was more just about the companionship, the friendship. I enjoyed the conversations. I enjoyed, the text messaging and all the dating aspects that led up to going out. It was just that, I'm just not looking for a relationship right now. I'm focused on my business and getting myself emotionally healthy again. I don't feel that I'm healthy enough. I'm not the man that I want to bring into a relationship right now. And I'm focusing on being the father that I want to be more than anything else on my emotional scale, I guess.
Yeah.
And even though I was having physical attraction, I felt that, I felt like I would be lying almost, or taking advantage of the situation if I went ahead and had sex and then told her afterwards, hey, I'm not looking for a relationship. And that's not how I am as a man either.
So,
and I don't know how to deal with that because I seem to have severely hurt feelings a couple times. Tried to clarify it after the fact. And I'm obviously not doing a very good job of clarifying after the fact either.
Because I've lost good potential friends in the process.
I hear you, man. And it's challenging, this path that you're on right now. No, my first question is, do you feel it's the right time to be spending time with these women? And I mean, what's the point of spending that time? Is it truly for friendship? And if it's truly for friendship and that's the way you're approaching it, what can you take responsibility over that's giving the impression that you may want a relationship? If this is truly how you feel, are you sending a message to them in some way, maybe unintentionally or maybe intentionally?
I know that I do tend to be very flirtatious. I enjoy the whole flirting process and things like that. I'm just not in a hurry to wrap things up, I guess. I'm not sure completely how to express that. I've actually asked myself that a couple times, and I like some of the physicality of it,
but I'm not feeling the need, even though I may feel the passion in the moment. I'm not feeling like I need an emotional connection. It's more, yeah, I guess I want, let's see, how best to phrase that.
Maybe your ego.
I looked back at some of my favorite parts of being married, and I enjoyed the companionship, the conversation, and while the sex was important to me, it wasn't the most important thing. Maybe it's because I'm older. I'm 58. It's just I have different priorities.
You've also done work on yourself, but something to stew on before we parlay to the next question, because I want to be conscious of time, is the desire that you have and like that good feeling, is that your ego being stroked, or is that your true like authentic desire that's there? Something to stew on. Take some time to process, and then message me on Facebook.
Oh, that's a good question.
Stew on it. Sit with it, because it's something to like really rationalize. And I'll send you the 5 polarizing relationship questions, because those put a lot into perspective as well. And I'll give this to you, and this is for any of the guys that relate to what Lance is sharing. Because I get it, guys. Sometimes, and whoever abides by the story of the fastest way to get over someone is by getting under someone else, guys, miss me with the bullshit, because that's the furthest thing from the truth. But ask yourself, are you truly fulfilled with this person that you're with, or are you just less lonely? Are you truly fulfilled? Or are you just less lonely?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where, and thank you for that. Lance, I'm going to give that to you. I'm going to parlay to our next question. I appreciate you receiving that, man. Thanks for being here, bro.
Thank you, Joe. Always appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Lance.
Love it. Yeah, that crucial question, like, are you truly fulfilled or just less lonely?
Mm-hmm.
And are you, well, you're not in love right now, but if you think you are, guys, are you truly in love with who they are and how they're treating you right here, right now, today? Or are you in love with the idea of who they can be, or who they used to or how they used to treat you, or the idea of what they can become? Answering those questions will tell you a lot about the nature of your relationship and what you're willing to tolerate. Brody, appreciate you joining us. The next question, what's the most non-common sexual thing that women find sexy?
I saw that like an hour ago. I'm like, I don't know. Does he, who asked that? Could I get some clarification?
Yeah, that was me. It was just basically like, what is something like somebody's doing in their daily life, and then you're like, wow, that is not sexual. I find that sexual. The biggest one for me was like somebody doing what they actually said they were going to do. Like accountability.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually.
I took that literally. Took the question literally.
I did. I did. I'm like, what? Yes, I did. So, I think.
Like that to you. They'll ask me that. They won't ask you that. These are respectful guys.
Okay, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's I think women definitely want to feel safe. Just like all humans do. And one thing that makes us feel safe, that's a really good, you kind of answer your own question, Tyson, I guess. Like, it is one thing that fosters safety in relationship is taking responsibility and following through on your word, and taking responsibility for your actions and choices and not blaming the other person. And that feels very unsafe when we do that to our partner. So yeah, that's a good one. I didn't take it literally, but I get it now.
Yeah, I missed that until like I started hearing the dialogue, and then I connected it.
Sorry, I could have asked it better.
No, it's not your fault. It's just the way my brain was working.
You guys are great. There's a lot of truth to that. You know, I will add, there's something powerful, both when a man follows through with what he says he's going to do, when he's impeccable with his word. Now, that is not to say that you can never make a mistake.
Yeah.
But when you do, take responsibility, take some ownership. Again, the little things, the small details, sometimes really are part of the bigger picture. They truly are. You know, I call this trust debt. You know, sometimes we get into trust debt. And if there's no trust, there's no lust. It's as simple as that, guys. If there's no trust, there's no lust. Yeah. Lust is out the window. Now, true intimacy means that your partner, intimacy fundamentally is into me, you see. When there's true intimate connection and there's true trust, there is a different level of connection. Now, we're not going to get into like tantric energy and all that. We'll have a conversation about that another time. But if there's a lack of trust in your relationship and you feel like you're in trust debt, you get out through leadership credit. Now, that's through responsibility, ownership, and doing this consistently, which means if you are like all up in her hair, all up in her business, constantly people pleasing, doing all the things, writing the greatest Victorian novels, you need to slow your roll and cool your jets, George Jetson, because you're just going to push that individual further away. Mm-hmm. And on the inverse as well, all of that to say, if you feel like you're in a place where you're just kind of unsure where to go, or you know that there's more, you know, as Lance was sharing, he just kind of shared, he's not in a place where he wants to add someone into his life yet. It is your opportunity to do the work and heal the wound so you don't bleed all over the next person. So I see that happen ever so often.
Oh my God, so much.
I see men date the same woman in a different body.
Yeah.
And you can't just keep blaming the person on the other side. Eventually you get to take a good hard look in the mirror. You get to have a tough conversation with yourself. Now, gentlemen, that's all we got for you. For all of you that were here live, I'm going to send out an email on how you can connect with Maryanne. But Maryanne, do you want to drop your call booking link in the chat or anything for any of them?
I'll just drop my email.
Yeah.
That'll be, yeah.
Because I know you mentioned your flash technique.
Oops, sorry, I just sent that to you.
I got you. I'm going to send it out to them either way.
Okay. All right, thanks. I always do that on Zoom.
Guys, I'll send out the recording. I'm going to send out the PDF with the antidotes to each of these. Realistically, guys, if you do not have the relationship you desire right now, or you do not have a clear vision for it, you do have a choice there. And if you know with knowingness, as Lance shared, you are not in a place to be dating, then you should stay committed on the path of working on you. Because if you don't, and you just got out of divorce or separation and you're not doing any of the healing work, you're just going to end up in the same dogma that led you here. But gentlemen, I appreciate you all being here and joining me and rocking with me, and I will see you on the next one. Much love, guys.
Thanks,
I hate the small talk. Please quit telling me about you.